Tape testimonials yesterday highlighted policies this ticket wants to tackle, although the majority of this convention is focused on selling the candidates. Mentions yesterday included climate change and environmental justice, immigration and undoing Trump policies, gun violence and violence against women, education, and bringing back the economy. That'll be the focus of former presidential candidate Michael Bloomberg tonight. We're told he'll appeal directly to swing voters in battleground states, making the argument that President Trump is a con who lied to the American people, and Biden is the candidate who can create jobs and restore the economy. Now, Bloomberg has donated more than $100 million of his own money to getting Democrats elected since bowing out of the race, and tonight he will throw all of that weight behind Joe Biden. Neil?
Well, that can heal a lot of wounds from his brief presidential run himself. Jackie, thank you very much. As Jackie was indicating, it's a virtual affair. We've never seen anything like this. Ratings, as you've heard by now, have been down for every night of the convention. But again, here Democrats tell it lives on in social media. People replay certain speeches. So there is that. How it affects Republicans next week, anyone's guess. But it does put added pressure in that environment, how to overcome the lack of balloons and pageantry and just the loudness you get with a typical convention. It is not that. Edward Stringham, the American Institute for Economic Research fellow. We got A.B. Stoddard here as well, Real Clear Politics Associate Editor. A.B., the president has already characterized Joe Biden as a cross between Mr. Magoo and plant life. So if he just does okay and doesn't faint, won't that lowered bar be to his advantage?
I think you're right, Neil. The president and his allies for a really long time have been lowering expectations way too low for Joe Biden, so that if he shows up at the debates and does okay, it's going to be very helpful to Joe Biden. Tonight, he's going to read off a teleprompter. This is not an area where Joe Biden usually misses a step. So I think that the convention, not only because it's been pretty well designed for an awkward, virtual, not exciting convention that we're used to, not that energizing. They've really done a lot of interesting things. It far exceeded my expectations in terms of its design. And I think that what they've also done in terms of Trump's messaging about Biden being captive to the radical left is, fill the entire program with messaging to center-right voters and former Republicans, independents, saying that Joe Biden is not a captive of the squad, and he is not going to govern like a progressive left candidate. And he had a bunch of testimonials from former Republicans, and that was all by design to say that he is a safe, broad coalition, centrist Democrat who intends, until he passes the baton, to govern that way. So I don't know how much from this convention the Republicans will be able to say that it was the radical left on display.
Well, they say that, so, they're obviously not changing that tune here. But, Edward, one of the things that comes up here is that the very dullness of Joe Biden, and that is not meant to be an offense. I built a career myself on dull, so I'm not going to argue that. But that might be appealing in this age of the drama around the president, and that Democrats plan to focus on that. He's rock solid, reliable. He's your dad. He's your granddad. He's someone who can give you some straight advice and leave it at that. And that dull might be the new hip. By the way, I never worked in high school or college, but that might be what they're focusing on. What do you make of that?
Yeah, Neil, I think you're right. If you listen to his economic policies, there's a lot of just vague platitudes. We're going to get America back on track. We're going to boost the economy, but we're going to bring the average person into the deal. So it's not anti-market per se, not anti-economics per se, but it's very lacking in specifics. One of the things which was disappointing he is talking about is raising corporate tax rates. It's not as high as where they were before the recent tax cuts, but he does want to increase corporate tax rates from 21 to 28%. And it's kind of this populism of, oh, these corporations are bad and we can't be giving trillions of dollars to them. So it's this kind of not really a strong position on anything, as far as I can tell.
Well, you look at the history, AB, candidates who campaign on raising taxes either for the very, very wealthy, i.e. Bill Clinton or Barack Obama, or raising them for companies, Barack Obama, they both got elected. So I'm not sure that works against them. The fear will be if it goes way beyond that group. And that's, I'm sure, what Republicans will sell. I'm just wondering how you think he threads that needle.
Right, as I said, he is not in office and he's not governing, but what he's done with his pact with Bernie Sanders, with his convention, Joe Biden and his campaign and his staff have done is to not make bold promises, to remain vague. And I agree with that is the safe course. On taxation, that was always going to be, he was going to be proud to get out there and be on the record that the corporate rate would be raised again and the wealthy would be taxed. If you look at polling, many Trump voters favor taxing the wealthy and a deeper safety net and are opposed to entitlement reforms. And so the idea that that Joe Biden will probably renegotiate TPP, get back in the Paris Climate Accord, stabilize the Affordable Care Act, not do a Green New Deal or Medicare for all or any kind of free college or whatever, is really intentional. And you can hear it loud and clear. The progressive left is not happy about it, but somebody has quieted them. What happens once he's in office and he has someone who's clearly going to be the 2024 nominee in his, his vice president, that's a pressure for another day. But I think they've been smart about keeping the campaign very vague, and it's all by design.
He might be more middle of the road than the campaign is letting on, to AB's point. But Edward, I don't hear him at this convention venue saying defund the police is a bad idea. I don't hear him talk about Medicare for all, but by the same token, he thinks that Medicare for all, at least in prior interviews, probably isn't advised now. But in this venue, he's not doing that. He might think it, but he's not saying it. That kind of is trying to have it both ways. Can he keep doing that?
Yeah. Well, you know how to know when a politician is lying is his lips are moving. And so he's always kind of trying, in my opinion, trying to appeal to, hey, buddy, the common guy, and I'm your friend, but very, very willing to change policy. It is interesting that many of his competitors in the party are, in many cases, outright Marxists. So he is, in certain cases, having to or choosing to appeal to some very radical critics of the traditional society. But at the same time, he can't alienate the average voter. So I think that that's why he's not been very committal to anything. Oh, I'm just this nice guy talking about people by first name rather than actually getting into economic policy.
All right. AB, very quickly, I know my producer's going to kill me, but I want to get your thoughts on the attacks on Joe Biden, whether he's too old, out of it, showing his age. Is that helping him? In other words, besides what we were saying at the outset that he set a low bar for Biden, is he ticking off older voters who might not like that?
Because of the pandemic and Trump's response to it, he has been bleeding support from seniors in a way that Democrats have not been able to celebrate in very many years, decades. So Joe Biden has seen a huge shift of support from seniors in his favor. Until and unless I see that disappear by November, I think the president's attacks about him being sleepy are not helping him.
All right, guys, thank you both very, very much. We'll see, again, what the vice president has in store tonight.